I came here for another opinion. My daughter-in-law does not like me. My son got her pregnant in college, and I told him to get a paternity test, since he was not exclusive with her, and she wasn't either. He told me she was seeing other people. He did, and he is the father. The first time I met her, she told me it was not a pleasure to meet the person who thinks she is an intimacy worker. I never called her that. I tried to explain, but got cut off by my son. My son and I had a conversation, and he told me to drop it. Shotgun wedding and 1 child later, our relationship is strained. I see her at family events, but that really is it. I've been blown off so many times for inviting them out that I don't anymore. I have accepted that I won't be a strong presence in their lives, or my grandkid. Now the family rotates who does holidays. It is her time to host Thanksgiving. I sent a text asking what time I should be over, and if they want me to bring anything. She told me I wasn't invited, but my husband is. I talked it over with him, and we decided to host our own. I informed the other kids what happened, and I will have dinner at my place if they want to go. Well, none of the other kids are going now, and I'm getting texts from her and my son that I am acting like a jerk and to cancel my Thanksgiving. Mini update. I sent a text with screenshots about not being invited to my son. According to him, he didn't know I wasn't invited and thought I was hosting to piss off his wife. He sent texts that confirm that. I've called my daughter-in-law to ask about how he presented the paternity test and if they were exclusive at the time. No pickup, so I will ask over text and give my side of the story. I will inform when she responds. I got thrown under the bus and they were on a break when she got pregnant. Apparently they dated for like 2 months, had a break, became intimacy partners again, got back together, and then she found out she was pregnant. He presented it as me forcing him to have the test. So they are going to deal with that now. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, not one bit. This is the exact response that she should have expected with her petty jerk move. You are not invited, so you respected that and won't go. Are you supposed to not eat that day? No, of course not. So you'll have a meal. Your husband is still invited. Oh, how nice. If I was your husband, I would politely decline, as I would want to spend the day with you. The other siblings find out mum and dad won't be there. Well, it's pretty natural to want to see your parents on a holiday. So, of course, they'll opt to go to the parents' house rather than the DIL, who excludes family members. If you haven't already, extend the invitation to your son, grandchild, and yes, even the DIL. If she's willing to swallow her pride, learn about family, and actually show up and be civil, maybe things will improve going forward. I don't imagine it'd ever be a good relationship, but at least civil. If not, well, she and your son have no one else to blame but themselves. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I'm sorry for you that your DIL is such an insufferable person. If she was not exclusive to your son when she got pregnant, then suggesting a paternity test is the smartest thing to do. If she feels slighted by this, then it's her own fault. You did nothing wrong, and the fact that she blames you just shows that she really blames herself but can't admit it. I'm really happy for you that your other kids are standing by you here. If she wants to invite your husband but not you, it just shows what a pathetic human being she is. I pity your son and your grandkid having to live with someone like her. Comment 3. Not the idiot. There are unspoken rules when hosting an event on behalf of the whole family. Unlike a regular event where you are the host and in sole control, a rotating family host is actually more of a caretaker. There is an unspoken rule that if it's your turn to host the family, that you actually host the family. She chose to not host the family, but only host part of it. In that context, your response is proportional and appropriate. In less polite language, she Ed around and found out now for the update. It's been an agonizing month since I last reached out for advice, and the situation with my family has only grown more heart-wrenching. Following the revelation of my son's dishonesty, I had hoped we could start mending our fractured ties, but instead the chasm only widened. I tried to approach my son to discuss the misrepresentations and perhaps clear the air, but it seems the damage was too deep-rooted. Rather than opening a channel for communication, my attempt was met with hostility. He accused me of trying to dredge up past issues to justify my actions, and our conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument, one where harsh words were exchanged, and both of us left feeling wounded. In the midst of our exchange, my daughter-in-law interjected, tearfully revealing that the stress from our family discord was affecting her health, and that the doctor had advised her to avoid stressful situations. The guilt that washed over me was suffocating. The last thing I wanted was to cause her or my unborn grandchild harm. Reeling from this, I reached out to my other children, clinging to the hope that they might understand my perspective, but their responses were distant and non-committal. They expressed disappointment in the continuous conflict and requested to remain neutral, which felt like a gentle way of taking sides. The realization that I was alienating not just my son and his wife, but my entire family was a bitter pill to swallow. To add to this turmoil, my son and daughter-in-law sent a letter, drafted by a lawyer, formally asking me to refrain from contacting them for the foreseeable future, citing the need for peace and stability. The sight of the cold, formal language describing our estrangement was enough to break me. The loneliness of this holiday season became a stark emblem of the rift in our family. The festive decorations in my home, which should have been symbols of joy, seemed to mock me with their cheer. I spent Thanksgiving alone, the silence a stark contrast to the laughter and warmth that should have filled the rooms. Now, as I write this update, I grapple with the weight of my choices and the unintended chain of events that have led to this isolation. The joy of impending grandmotherhood is overshadowed by the realization that I may not be a part of my grandchild's life, at least not in the way I had dreamed. My heart aches with the sorrow of these fresh wounds, and the path to reconciliation seems shrouded in fog. I'm left to ponder the fragile nature of family bonds and the heavy price of pride and misunderstanding. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's clear from your story that you are going through a lot of pain due to the family discord, and it's understandable that you would feel isolated, especially during the holiday season when family togetherness is emphasized. However, it's important to remember that relationships are a two-way street, and it takes effort from both sides to mend them. You've tried to reach out and mend things with your son, which shows you're willing to take responsibility and make amends. It's unfortunate that your efforts were met with hostility, but sometimes people need space to process their emotions. As for your daughter-in-law, her health is important, and if the family situation is affecting her negatively, it might be best to respect their wishes for no contact for the time being. This doesn't mean the situation is permanent, but it allows time for healing. As for your other children's distant responses, they might be trying to stay neutral or unsure of how to support you without becoming entangled in the conflict. It might help to reach out to them individually and express your feelings without expecting them to take sides, simply asking for their emotional support in a difficult time. Comment 2. You're the idiot. While it's difficult to make a judgment without knowing the specific details of the dishonesty and the argument, it's important to consider the possibility that your actions may have contributed to the current situation. Your son and daughter-in-law's request for no contact is a significant step that people usually don't take without serious consideration. Sending a formal letter indicates that they felt the need to establish firm boundaries. It's possible that your attempts to mend the relationship were perceived as invasive or dismissive of their feelings, and your insistence might have contributed to their reaction. Reflecting on the fragility of family bonds is important, as is understanding the consequences of pride and misunderstanding. However, it's also crucial to take accountability for any actions that may have hurt your family members and consider seeking professional help or mediation to learn how to approach the situation better. It's never too late to learn and grow from past mistakes, but it requires humility and a willingness to truly listen to and respect the other party's feelings and boundaries. Comment 3. Everyone sucks here. Family conflicts are complex and often involve hurt feelings on all sides. It seems like there has been a breakdown in communication and trust within your family, which has led to a situation where everyone is hurting. Your son's dishonesty and the subsequent fallout suggest that there might have been underlying issues that were not addressed in time, leading to the escalation of the conflict. Meanwhile, your daughter-in-law revealing that the situation is affecting her health indicates that the family discord has reached a point where it's having serious consequences. It's concerning that your other children are responding distantly, which could indicate that they too are affected by the family's issues and are perhaps unsure of how to deal with the situation. A formal no-contact request is a sign that your son and daughter-in-law feel overwhelmed and need to protect their well-being, which is a boundary that should be respected. However, the fact that this has led to isolation for you during the holidays and the potential loss of a relationship with your grandchild suggests that there needs to be some form of resolution. It might be beneficial for all parties to seek family counselling to navigate these complex emotions and to work towards a resolution that respects everyone's needs and boundaries. This could help in understanding each other's perspectives, addressing unresolved issues, and possibly rebuilding trust over time. Now, for the next story. My wife, 31 years old, and I, 33 years old, have a 3-year-old boy. He currently goes to daycare during the day. I generally drop him off, and then my wife's mother will pick him up. My wife cannot drive, so she unfortunately cannot take him. I have found that if I get my son out the door by 8:45, I can get him to daycare and then be on time for work. Unfortunately, my wife tends to drag her feet with getting him fed and ready, so she has caused me to be late multiple times. I am in a field where I simply cannot be late, and therefore this situation is unacceptable. I have been late 4 times since he started going to daycare, and my wife has only gotten less consistent. Last Wednesday, I realized that if I waited for my wife to get him fully ready, I'd be late to work. I simply walked out the door. She called me screaming angrily, but I told her that if she didn't want him to stay home, she should have had him ready on time. The next day, she managed to get him out right at 8:45, but on Friday it became clear again that she was going to cause me to be late. I just walked out the door. She texted me multiple times, and when I got home around 11 p.m, she had a lot to say about it. I don't think I'm the jerk for my policy, seeing as I simply cannot afford to be late to work, but I wonder if there's something I'm not seeing here. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot based on your answers. The least you can do is get the kid ready on time. It'll be worse if you get fired from your job. Maybe your kid can shower in the evening and just wash his face in the morning, so it's pretty much just breakfast needing to be done. He can even eat a sandwich in the car to daycare. And you do realise this is not a sustainable arrangement. You will die with this 2-job schedule while she is mentally unwell. If she wants this to work, as a wife and mother, she needs to actively find treatment for her anxiety disorder. There's her asking for a bit of help, and there's screaming at you for you asking her to step up a bit. Big difference. Was she like this before having a child? Could it be some kind of extended PPD that got worse? Don't forget to thank mother-in-law for helping out. Comment 2. Not the idiot. This is completely and utterly ridiculous. You are working 13 hours, not getting home till 11 p.m, and then doing chores before you go to bed. Your wife doesn't drive, doesn't work, doesn't look after the kid all day, and still cannot get him sorted on time so you can take him to daycare and be at work on time and not lose your job. The job that's paying for her entire lifestyle to do nothing. This is a bigger problem than the kid not being ready on time. This is a come to Jesus talk time with your wife. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Okay, after reading the comments. Guy works 2 jobs to essentially pay for everything, while his wife is not employed and doesn't drive because of anxiety, and he's not home till 11 p.m. and has to be asleep within the hour he's home. With the child being at daycare during the day, all that would be left for the wife to do potentially is dinner and maybe some light cleaning. Not even laundry since OP does his own. Either the wife has postpartum depression or just doesn't want to do it. Now, for the next story. 7 years ago I started dating a woman, let's call her Maya. She has a son, Mark. He was 4 when I started dating Maya. Mark's father, Maya's husband, unfortunately passed away when he was still a baby, so he has no memory of him. Maya and I got along quite well, and our relationship proceeded steadily and without too many problems. In time, I built a good relationship with Mark too, and by the time he was 7, we were a good trio. Unfortunately, my relationship with Maya ended 2 years ago. It was nobody's fault. There was no cheating or abuse involved. We simply had some problems, and we came to the conclusion that it was better to break up. Last week, I got a call in the middle of the night. It was Mark calling. When I was still dating Maya, I had given him my phone number and told him to call if he was ever in trouble and needed help. He had never called since Maya and I broke up, but that night he was panicking. He called and told me that he and Maya had a car accident. He was okay, but Maya was injured and they had been taken to the hospital. I pondered what to do but decided to go to the hospital. Maya has no living relatives and Mark told me he was alone, so I went there mostly to take care of Mark. When I arrived, Maya was still unconscious, so I stayed with Mark for several hours until she regained consciousness. When she saw me, she asked why I was there, and I told her about Mark calling me. She said I should not have come and forced me to leave. At the time, I apologized and left because I thought I had overstepped her boundaries, but now, thinking back, I don't think I did anything wrong. Mark was panicking, and he called the person he wanted by his side in that moment. Was it wrong for me to come? Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Here's the thing. What if she hadn't woken up relatively quickly? The hospital would have had a social worker put him in an emergency foster situation, so he would have been relatively safe, but he likely would also have been unable to visit his mother or attend his regular school. Yes, his mum was upset, and maybe reasonably so considering her situation and the confusion, but somebody needs to let that kid know he didn't do anything wrong. God forbid something should happen in the future and he has no one he can call. Comment 2. No idiots here. A young boy is afraid for his mother and all alone while she is injured. This wasn't an attempt to revisit a relationship. It's about taking care of a kid who is scared when their primary adult is in an emergency situation. It might have been a knee-jerk reaction at being surprised by your presence, but she might realise after some thought that it was right for you to show up when Mark called you in a panic. How cold would it have been to say no anyway? Comment 3. No idiots here. If I was in a car accident that left me unconscious for hours, I probably wouldn't want to wake up to see my ex. However, you weren't wrong to go to the hospital when Mark called. Apologising and leaving was the right move. Don't get hung up on the idea that you were in the right, so was she. Now for the update. So it's been 2 weeks since I last updated, and let me tell you, things took an unexpected turn. The day after the car accident incident, I got a call from the hospital. It was Mark again. This time, he was on the brink of tears, telling me Maya wasn't just in the accident. She had suffered a stroke due to the trauma and was now in critical condition. My mind was racing. I was torn between respecting Maya's wishes for me to stay away and being there for Mark, who clearly needed me. Against my better judgment, I went back to the hospital. When I arrived, Mark was alone in the waiting room, looking lost. He practically collapsed into my arms when he saw me. We spent the next few hours in silence, waiting for any news. Finally, the doctor came out and explained that the stroke had caused significant damage and Maya was in a coma. They couldn't say if she would wake up. Mark was a mess and I couldn't leave him. I decided to take a leave from work to be his guardian for the time being. Over the next few days, we started to build a routine. I'd help him with his homework, make meals, and we'd visit Maya together. Mark was clinging to the hope that she'd wake up, and I didn't have the heart to express my own doubts. Then, about a week ago, something monumental happened. I was making dinner when Mark came downstairs holding a small old shoebox he'd found in Maya's closet. Inside there were letters that Maya had written but never sent to me after our breakup. They were filled with apologies, confessions of lingering love, and the most shocking part, she wrote about her fear of truly letting me into their lives, not because she didn't trust me, but because she was scared of losing me like she lost her husband. Reading those letters broke something loose in me. I realized that Maya's earlier anger wasn't about me overstepping, it was about this deep-seated fear. And her situation now, it was like her worst nightmare coming true, with me stepping in as Mark's de facto parent. I've spent every day at the hospital holding her hand, talking to her about Mark, about the letters, about how much we both missed her. And then, 2 days ago, Maya's fingers twitched in mine. It was subtle, but it was there. The doctors are cautious, but say it's a good sign. Meanwhile, Mark and I are getting closer than ever. He's starting to talk about his fears for the future, asking if I'll stay with them no matter what happens to Maya. I've promised him that I'm not going anywhere. And I mean it. The situation is still hanging by a thread, but these 2 weeks, they've changed everything. I'm not just an ex-boyfriend who showed up at the hospital. I'm a part of their family now. I've been reminded in the harshest way possible that life is fragile, but I'm here, riding the waves of hope and fear alongside a boy who needs me and a woman who might just still love me. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but no matter what the future holds, I know where I stand. I'm in this for the long haul, for Maya, for Mark, and for the little family we've become in the face of tragedy. Now for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your intentions are clearly rooted in compassion and a desire to support a friend during an unimaginably difficult time. It's important to recognize that while Maya had previously expressed her wish for you to stay away, circumstances have dramatically changed, and your presence is not intended to disrupt her peace but to support Mark. Furthermore, the development of your bond with Mark during this crisis is a natural human response to shared grief and stress. It's a situation that has evolved organically, and the emotional connections formed in such intense circumstances can be quite strong. However, it is critical to ensure that your decisions moving forward remain respectful of Maya's autonomy and her wishes should she recover. Your commitment to being there for Maya, Mark and their family shows a depth of empathy and willingness to provide stability and support where it's needed most. Comment 2. No idiots here. The situation you find yourself in is incredibly complex and emotionally charged. It's clear that you're acting out of a genuine concern for both Maya and Mark. The fact that Maya's past letters revealed her love and fears suggests that her initial request for you to stay away may have been driven by emotional turmoil rather than a deep-seated desire for permanent separation. Your decision to be at the hospital, especially in light of the positive signs from Maya, could be seen as an act of kindness and an expression of unresolved feelings. It is important, though, to consider the delicate nature of your involvement and to be mindful of any legal or ethical boundaries regarding her medical care and personal affairs. Additionally, your promise to Mark to stay with them, regardless of Maya's condition, must be carefully thought through, as it may have long-term implications for all parties involved, especially if Maya regains consciousness and has input on the situation. Comment 3. Not the idiot, but proceed with caution. The emotional weight of the situation cannot be understated, and while your actions are coming from a place of love and support, it is essential to maintain clear boundaries and open communication with all parties involved, including the healthcare professionals managing Maya's care. Your commitment to Mark and Maya's little family is laudable, but it's also important to consider your own emotional well-being in this equation. The stress of the situation can take a toll on your mental health, and it's important to ensure you have a support system in place for yourself as well. It's also vital to remember that if Maya recovers, she should have the space and agency to make her own decisions regarding her relationships with you and Mark. Your story demonstrates a complex web of relationships that require sensitivity, respect for Maya's previous wishes, and an open heart ready to adapt to the changes that may come. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.